Hello and welcome everyone to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm Nipasa Pradhan. I'm going to be your host for the next hour, and we're going to have a very special guest. We're going to discuss about a very interesting topic. But before we dive into our topic, I have this very important disclaimer. By watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. Once again, a very warm welcome to everyone out there on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And we are streaming live right now on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And today we have a very special guest, like I was telling you. And it is the second episode we're going to have today with none other than Eric G. Morin, Udetivisa consultant and retired Foreign Service Officer. Eric, so good to have you back. How are you doing today?
I am well, Nipasa. Thank you very much for having me back to the program. I'm doing well, and I hope everyone else is doing great out there as well.
I am. I can't believe how fast, the first half of the year just flew away just like that. It's the last Friday, and 2 more days, we're going to be done with June. So tell
Exactly.
me about you. How was your first half of the year?
You know what? It was really busy. In it was really interesting because I was able to start working with Udetivisa Consulting. I retired from the U.S. Department of State about a year ago, and I got this wonderful opportunity. Thank you very much to Yvette Basal, who is the
Mhm.
founder and the of Udetivisa Consulting. And she brought me on board, and so this is about my first full month with them, and I've really enjoyed it. I've had talked to a lot of people and had an opportunity to talk to them about their visa questions, do some
Mhm.
consulting, long consultants, spending a good length of time with people, but also doing short consulting where I would answer just a couple of questions. And then I think the crown jewel for me this month was getting a chance to appear on the program last week. So thank you very much for having me, and I'm glad I could come back. Thank you for having me again.
Me too. Me too. I'm so glad we're doing this today once again. And friends out there, Eric has had an illustrious 20-year career serving as a consular officer in the Department of State and 10 different US embassies all over the world. And we are truly very thrilled to have you here with us today, Eric. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to a very insightful session today. And our topic for today is uh, displayed on the screen. It is how to prepare for the J-1 visa interview. So, friends, I'm
Yes.
sure some of you are preparing for one and are looking forward to get some tips and ideas. So, you're on the right place. This is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And if you haven't already liked this content, if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to us and like and share this content. It's going to be great to have you. And I wanted to say that, if you have questions to Eric directly, we are going to be here for some time. So why don't you drop your questions and Eric will be very happy to answer them. All right. So, Eric, are you ready for today's session?
Yes, I sure am. I sure am, and I see we've already got one question in the chat, which I look forward to addressing. But yeah, let's start off on today's topic.
For sure, for sure. So, what is a J-1 visa basically before we dive into the topic really?
Good, good. Yeah, I think it's important to start with what exactly where is the J-1 visa. And for the United States, most of our visas categories they start with a letter. And for example,
Mhm,
a lot of people know B1, B2 as for business or personal travel. A lot of people know F1s are for students. J1s
mhm,
are for cultural exchange visitors. This was a type of visa category that was set up to facilitate people that wanted to come to the United States in order to do cross cultural exchange programs.
mhm,
Now, the beauty of the J-1 program or of the J-1 visa is that there are lots of different activities and lots of different programs that are covered by the J-1. So, for example, you have your traditional types of cross-cultural programs where we're talking about high school
mhm,
exchange programs, where a student from outside the United States will come and experience life at a U.S. high school, and in return, they will expose their culture to the American students that they study with. There are also J-1 programs that are for au pairs, which are for young people to provide childcare, work as
mhm,
a nanny or as a child care provider. and at the same time they are studying while in the United States. They're earning a bit of a stipend, but at the same time, again, they are bringing and exposing the child and the community that they're living in to their culture. Another great J-1 program is the summer work and travel program. This is very popular in many places of the world where college students come to the United States during their summer break when they have a bit of free time. They are then matched with a job or with an employer in the United States that provides them an opportunity to work. So while they're in the U.S., they spend their summers working part time or even full time. They are practicing
Hmm.
their English. They're getting exposed to American culture. And again, there is this exchange where they are sharing their culture with their colleagues and with their community while they're in the U.S. Um,
Right.
Another program, and finally one that's very popular, I know with in India are the medical internships, trainerships, fellowships, and those types of medical education programs. These are where physicians who are just getting their career started will go to the United States for a relatively long length of time, sometimes over a year or even many years. They are placed in hospitals where they are doing they're doing their medical education and their medical training. Um,
Mhm.
and again, while they are there learning in the United States, they are then sharing their culture with their colleagues in their community while they're in the U.S. So lots and lots of things that are able to be done under a J-1 program, and I think it's a great way for people to come to the United States, experience U.S. culture, learn about the U.S., be able to share their culture, and then at the same time, these
Mhm.
programs also allow the participants a lot of times to earn money. So it's kind of a win-win where someone can participate in the exchange program, but also be able to set themselves up financially as well.
Mhm. It is indeed a very, very exciting program, a J-1 visa program. And folks out there who are able to do this, I think it is a very amazing experience. By the way,
Yes.
are there any particular, how to say, time frame for a J-1 visa, like 3 months, 6 months, or a year or two?
It really depends on the program that they want to participate in. Some programs can be as short as a couple of weeks. Some programs can be, like I said, for a high schooler. It's the traditional high school year from fall into spring.
Hmm.
For some of the medical internships, it can be up to 2 years or even 3 or 4 years, depending on the length of the program that they're participating in. And these J-1 programs can be pretty flexible, dealing with all sorts of trainee internships and things like that. So the program can be from as long as a couple of weeks to a couple of years.
Yes. Thank you so much, well, Eric, to give us an idea about a J-1 visa and, how does it contribute to getting to know the cultural understanding, whether, I mean, of the US and also of the home country from where you belong, because you will be exchanging a lot of
Hmm.
cultural ideas and knowledge. So thank you so much,
Exactly.
Eric, for.
A good example of this, of the value of these cultural exchange programs, is with the summer work and travel program. As a foreign service officer, I was in charge of the program for all of Russia, in which we sent, I think,
Mhm.
over 35,000 summer work and travel students to the United States for this opportunity. And we viewed it not as a job creation program, as a cultural exchange program, but we really saw it in the embassy as a way to really change the hearts and minds of the people that had traveled to the United States, and then we wanted them to be able to bring those experiences back to their relatives in Russia. And so it really was a program that we thought would be able to strengthen the ties between the United States and Russia. Those
Mhm.
of you may know that there's back then and even now there's a lot of suspicion between our two countries, and we felt that these types of cross cultural programs would go a long way to dispelling that, so that these
Mhm.
kids, who are university students, second year, third year university students, maybe in 5 or 10 years they would mature to be young professionals, and maybe they would mature to be decision makers, in even in 15 or 20 years. And so we were hoping that these types of programs could help people from all different areas of the country develop a positive attitude towards the United States. And at the same
Mhm.
time, while they're in the United States, they're teaching us Americans about their culture. And we thought at the embassy that this was just a win-win, and that's why we were really happy to work on this program.
Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing that um, experience, that story with us. And for sure, we are going to get to know so much more today, friends. And also, Eric, I really wanted to take this moment to thank you, for our last session because it brought us more than 20,000 viewers and who watched the show,
Wow.
and also to the viewers, really. Very nice because they were so participative. We had such interesting questions
We
last
did. We did have
episode, right?
quite a few questions, and I think that was the reason that we went over by like 30 minutes on our broadcast. I think it was there were just so many good
We
questions
did.
and so much participation. I think that's why we just kept rolling. So I was happy to do it,
Yes.
and I'm really glad that people found this information of use. And I really appreciate them them participating and attending this webinar.
Thank you, thank you. And Eric, you are such a sport, really. You went on and on with us. It was really wonderful. And folks out there, we are looking for a very interactive session today as well. You keep commenting. We'll be happy to take your questions. And I think we should just quickly take one before we go into
Mhm.
our questions, Eric, if it's fine.
Sure.
So we'll quickly take this first one from Kamalakar saying, Hi, sir. I have my F1 interview on July 9th in Mumbai. This is my second attempt. I was
Mhm.
refused on May 30th, 2024 in
Mhm.
Hyderabad. Any inputs from you to crack my visa interview this time? It would really help me.
Sure, and as a visa consultant with Udetivisa, I work with students that are in this position. They are either preparing for their first visa interview or they went into their first visa interview and they were not successful, and so they are looking for assistance to try to really boost their visa application and to secure that visa to study in the United States. Um, so, I advise my clients to do a couple of things. First of all,
Mhm,
please have a very good idea of what you're going to study and why you want to go into the United States to study. Second of
mhm,
all, I think you really want to be able to explain why you chose that particular university. The consular officer really wants to understand that what are the strengths of that academic program and how is it going to benefit you. And third, I
mhm,
think a lot of things that people fail to do is they really don't explain how the education in the United States is going to benefit them and their career for the future. So having a good idea and being able to talk about how a U.S. education will benefit you for your career, what you plan to do with
mhm,
that education. I think those three things are pretty key. Um, and also with anything, if you go into it for the first time, you may not have been speaking directly to the question. I think that maybe the because it was the first time going through a visa interview, you may not have been prepared for how
mhm,
quick it was, for the questions that were being asked. And a lot of times, if you could take some reflection and think about what the questions were asking and how you answered them, I think that'll go a long way to making your second interview more successful. So,
for
anyone
sure.
out
And
there that is
Kamalakar, yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
no, after you.
Okay, so I was just going to say, Kamalakar, I mean, if you want to consult with Eric directly, you can. And in fact, you can use this promo code IT people and you would get a 15% off. So why not contact Eric directly? And
Exactly.
you were saying something, Eric, go on.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
just wanted to say. I mean, I wanted to say that same thing is that I do offer one-on-one consultations. They can be as short as 10 minutes, where I can respond to just a quick question. If you had a
Hmm.
particular issue that you wanted to run by a former consular officer, or we can even go in depth for as long as an hour, where I really look at your application. I can give you some insights into what the consular officer was looking, and we actually can do a couple of mock interviews where I play the role of a consular officer and really kind of give you that experience where you can practice putting out that information and making
Hmm.
sure it's clear, concise, and powerful, and that will help the consular officer understand why you want to apply for the visa.
Very well said. And So, Kamalakar, definitely go visit udetivisa.com. That's where you'll get more details about Udetivisa and, of course, Eric G. Morin. And you can directly mail Eric as well. His email address is hello@udetivisa.com. And definitely call him also in the number 630 303 6165. All
Yes,
right, Kamalakar, thank you for the question. And Eric, thank you so much for taking that up for Kamalakar.
of course.
All right, friends, we will come to your questions for sure, but a little bit later. All right, for now, Eric, I had a question, and that is, what is the range of programs available under the J-1 visa category,
Mhm.
and how do these programs, cater to different professional and educational needs?
Well, like I said, there are all sorts of different cross-cultural exchange programs that are offered, that you can participate in under
Mhm.
the for a J-1 visa. It can be the summer work and travel program where people are going to the United States for the just for a short time for the summer.
Mhm.
There are also, as I said, the medical internships and the medical training J1 programs that are out there. I've also seen ones for the hospitality industry where there are, I believe, 1.5 to 2 year programs where people who are developing their career in the hospitality, hotel restaurant industry, will
Tourism.
be assigned
Mhm.
to work in a major hotel, and they'll work through all the different departments. There's a lot of training involved. Um, there are scientific exchange type programs. There are cultural exchange type programs. So there's a wide variety of things out there. One thing
Mhm.
that is key for a J1 visa, and Nipasa, I'll just go ahead and transition into this. I wanted to, that I that's very important to talk about is that with a J1 program, you need to find a hosting agency in the United States. A person can't just go and apply for a J1 visa like you can for
Okay.
a B1, B2 visa, or or for some other type of visa. You must have a cultural organization in the United States that is willing to sponsor
Okay.
you. So it does take a lot of legwork in order to be able to identify a
Mhm.
program that fits your interests, and then be able to find a cultural exchange organization that's going to be able to sponsor you and host that, and that can provide you with the documentation that you're going to need in order to successfully apply for the J1 visa.
Mhm.
So just like some other visas that require the applicant to do a bit of work beforehand, like a student visa or an H-1B work visa, the J-1s require you to have a partner in the United States that can help you. The reason you need to have a partner in the United States is that the partner issues what's called the form DS 2019. And this is the form that a consular officer has to see during the visa interview in order to be
Mhm.
able to approve your visa. For a lot of these programs, we actually have to sign off on the form, and so that's got to be present during the interview, and you can only get that from your U.S. Host country cultural agency. So if anyone is interested in participating in some of these programs, the first thing is to be able to find that agency in the U.S. who can help you
Mhm.
arrange.
Right, and getting sponsored by these agencies, I'm sure it's very difficult or it's hard to catch one. And since you have been an ex-foreign officer, could you please elaborate more maybe on how the
Mhm.
process goes, maybe for a
Mhm.
student who wants to
Well,
come to the US?
gotcha. So usually, there are agencies in each country that will help facilitate that arrangement. I remember in Moscow there were 5 or 6 different summer work and travel agencies that recruited the students. They had the
Mhm.
connection with the cultural agencies in the United States who were authorized to issue these DS 2019 forms. And so the Russian organization and then the American organization worked together in order to make this program happen. The U.S. organization was responsible for a lot of things. They were
Mhm.
responsible for finding and vetting the employers. They were responsible for having services for the SWT participants while they were in the United States. On the other hand, in Russia, the Russian agencies were responsible for recruiting the university students. They did some initial training and evaluation. because one of the requirements was that the applicants needed to speak English at a decent level, and then they would organize the applicants to come to the embassy or consulate in order for their visa interviews. So they really work together in order to help the applicants identify a program, secure the necessary documents, be prepared for the visa interview, and then come in for the interview. So I believe these types of agencies work pretty much, all around the world, and
Hmm.
I think that someone that is interested should be able to find them online and go from there.
For
This
sure,
is
for
not a
sure.
recommendation for
Yeah.
any particular agency, and please do your research and evaluate each agency because each agency is going to offer different services, is going to offer different prices for their programs and things like that. So please do your
Hmm.
research, but that is generally how someone is able to participate in these J-1 programs. Medical
Yeah.
professionals, I think they do there is a better infrastructure for them. I think they are able to deal directly with the hospitals themselves once they have gone through the interview process and they have been
Okay.
selected for some of these medical trainee programs.
Hmm.
So they may not have to go through a U.S. host agency. I believe some of these medical programs have the authority themselves to issue those 2019. So the medical
Amazing.
doctors and those people going for medical training, I believe you deal directly with the hospitals themselves.
Okay. Very interesting. And by the way, so far in your career, 20 years of career, for you, or I mean, as you worked, which country had the most foreign exchange students?
Well, I was mainly on the interviewing side, and I saw applicants from all different countries applying for these programs.
Mhm.
The summer work and travel program in Russia at that time was huge. I believe the year that I was in charge, that we did around 45,000
Wow.
Russian citizens applying for this summer work and travel program. I've seen lots of interest in these programs from China and the Philippines. I've spoken as a consultant with many physicians from India and the Indian subcontinent who have gone to the U.S. on these J-1 programs for the medical training,
Hmm.
and these programs are also popular in places like South America because their school cycle is different. So a lot of those students would do summer work and travel, but they would come up to the United States during our winter, and they would be working in
Hmm.
ski areas and other places like that. So it was
Hmm.
popular for them, for those kids who wanted to take their summer break, but they would come up to North America during the winter.
So cool. That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that with us, Eric. And
Of course.
well, at this moment, there is some good news for all you Telugu speaking audience out there who are watching us right now, because we are very pleased to announce that Immigration and Jobs Talk Show is going to, we are going to have it in Telugu language as well. So stay tuned for more updates and subscribe to our channel because we will keep you updated on this as well. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for taking that up. And well, let's move ahead. I got some more questions, and so have the audience. So we will take them up, but a little later, folks. Just stay with us. All right. So, well, could you outline the typical timeline and process leading up to the J-1 visa interview, including any necessary preparations or research?
Sure. I mean, the timeline, it can take a while, and the applicant themselves need to be able to take the initiative to identify, which program they think is going to be best for them. They need to be
Okay.
able to identify the sponsoring agency, and they need to work with the U.S. sponsor to make sure the program is really what they want. So it does take some time. Um, and you do need to be careful and be aware of the services that each one of those partners is going to offer. So it does take some
Okay.
time. Once you have been able to secure that you are going to participate in a J-1 program, then and you are issued the DS 2019, then it's a relatively straightforward process where you come in and apply for a visa. And then that is just the usual visa processing time for that particular embassy. Sometimes the waits can be longer in the summer. Sometimes
Mhm.
it can take longer to process visas in the summer. So my suggestion would be to always try to apply and try to start the process as soon as you can. The more time you give
Okay.
yourself, the better, in case there are any delays. Apply for your visa as soon as you can. Don't wait. Don't put that off. And
Mhm.
and be prepared to go to the interview and be able to talk to the consular officer about why you want to participate in that program.
Okay. All the best, folks, whoever are applying for a J-1 visa. The sooner the better you apply. And moving on, let's go on to the next question that I have for you. And that is, Eric, how can applicants effectively prepare their documentation and
Yeah.
presentation for the interview?
Right. Well, as the audience is probably aware, the interview with the consular officer is probably the most important part of this process. Is because the consular officer is going to be able to make the decision, if the visa will be approved or not. And you can do all of the background work, you can do all of the preparation, and unfortunately, a lot of people will come to the embassy and still not leave with their visa in hand. So it's important to really put some thought and some preparation, into your visa interview so that you're able to make a strong case about why you want to participate in this J-1 program. So first of all, I would say please make sure all of your documentation is in order. In order to apply for a visa, you're going to fill out the DS-160 form. That's the online
Hmm.
visa application form. Fill that out completely and accurately. Second of all, please have a good idea of where you're going to be going in the United States. What city and what state, are you going to be doing your program in? Be able to talk to the consular officer about what you're going to be doing and why this program is important to you. Why do you want to spend 2 years doing being a hospitality management trainee? Why do you want to spend a year as a high school student in the United States? Why do you want to spend 2 or 3 years doing medical observerships in the United States?
Hmm.
So the consular officer wants to understand that you've really thought about this program and that you can really talk about how this program is going to benefit you, the things that you're going to be able to gain from participating in that program, and why it's important. The next thing the consular officer is going to want to hear from you are your ties to your home country. Um, Last week we talked all about Section 214B of the Immigration and Naturalization Act. That basically explains that every visa applicant needs to demonstrate to the consular officer that they are not intending to remain in the United States at the end of their short visitor's visa,
Hmm.
stay. And unfortunately, the law is written in such a way where everyone is presumed to be not in compliance with that law unless they can explain to the consular officer that they are. That's why a lot of people may be maybe completely honest with their plans and with their and with their background, but still not be able to secure a visa. The J-1 visa also has that burden where the applicant does have to overcome Section 214B. So you need to be able to explain to the consular officer your ties to your home country.
Hmm.
Ties are things that would compel you to return to your home country after your exchange visit to the United States. Ties can be such things as personal ties, your family, spouse, children, things like that. They can also be financial, such as your job, your career, the things that you have been working for professionally. They can be
Hmm.
financial, such as your salary, your savings, any type of property that you may have. Um, in my experience, a lot of people applying for J-1s are usually young people who are building their career. So in this case, the tie is not only what they've done professionally, but what they will be able to do in the future. So, I think a doctor who was able to come to me and just say, "Hey, I've graduated from medical school here in India, but I know if I go to the US and do this 2 year specialization, I'm going to be able to reach this certain height of my medical career, or I know that I will be accepted into a very prestigious hospital, or I know that I can secure a job at this clinic." That to me as a consular officer would show that this person maybe not has the ties now, but there are going to be a strong financial incentive for them to return to their home country after this program. So those are
Hmm.
all types of things that a consular officer is going to look at during the interview. And successful applicants are going to be able to talk about that to the consular officer, in addition to talking about the program and talking about their interest in participating in this J-1 program.
Very well said. Thank you so much, Eric, for taking that up and for clarifying how can folks out there be prepared for their J-1
Oh,
visa interview and
one other thing,
presentation.
your DS
Sure.
2019, you've got to have that in hand. If you don't have your 2019, nothing's going to happen. So don't walk into the embassy without it.
There you go. Thank you for that tip as well, Eric. Thank you so much. And Eric, we are truly very fortunate to have you here. And folks, I would take this opportunity to let you know that if you have, or if you want to contact Eric directly, have a consultation with him, a one-on-one consultation, why not contact him? Check out his website, and when you do book a consultation with Eric on udetivisa.com, definitely use this code IT people for a 15% discount. All right. And yes, you can even call Eric on his number. The number is displayed on the screen. It is 630-303-6165. And you can even email him hello@udetivisa.com. And friends, we'll just go for a short break now. You don't go anywhere because we will be taking up your questions. I can see so many folks out there. Thank you so much for all your questions. Thank you for being patient. We will take them up very soon after the break. Just stay with us. This is Nipasa Pradhan on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show.
Officer who adjudicated over 40,000 cases, I saw many applicants struggle to communicate their purpose of travel and finances during the visa interview. With better preparation, many could have secured their visa. At Udeti, I offer one-on-one visa interview strategy sessions. Let my experience be your guide so that you can ace your visa interview.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry, exceptional employee benefits, highly rated by our employees, global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us in the number 408-335-6444 or mail us at nipa@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm your host, Nipasa Pradhan, and today we have with us none other than Eric G. Morin, who is a visa consultant at Udetivisa and is a retired foreign service officer. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us for the second time, Eric, and thank you so much for doing this today. We are discussing on how to prepare yourself for a J-1 visa interview, and Eric has been guiding us so far. So we had the first half of the show and we had a good time. I hope you folks have been
Mhm.
having a good time. I can see you are because I can see your questions. So we will take them up. And yeah, Eric, I think we should. I hope you're enjoying the session so far.
Oh, I always am. It's always enjoyable to be able to talk about visas to people that are maybe not that aware of what the visa process is like, and to help sort of
Mhm.
explain how things are happening so that they have more knowledge and they are in better control of of their visa application. So happy to do so, and I always love this opportunity to to demystify the visa process.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, really. And folks, we will take up your question. Thank you for being patient. But yeah, I think we should take them up now, Eric.
Let's do it.
Okay, this one is from Rohan Datta. 25 years old now. I went to LA, J visa for short
Hmm.
EF English course for 10
Hmm.
days on 2020. It's
Hmm.
a university program. Later
Hmm.
on 2022, I applied for B2 visa
Hmm.
but got rejected.
Hmm.
Maybe I was still a student, too young,
Yeah.
and haven't gone anywhere. Now I'm working for 1.5 year, have traveled
Mhm.
to Japan,
Mhm.
Hungary. SG. Do you think my J1 history in 2021 will still help me on my 2024 application, even though I get refused on 2021?
Yes, I think it will be a benefit. Um, so it sounds like you applied for this J1 program and you attended it when you were probably a university student, maybe high school or a secondary school student. Then it sounds like you have started going to the university. Maybe now you're finished. Maybe now I'm assuming 25 that you're probably a young professional just getting started in your career. So
Mhm.
um, you were refused in 2021. So again, to me, that sounds like someone that maybe had just finished university or was maybe in their last year of university, and you applied for a tourist visa, B1, B2 visa. So if that's correct, and how I've got that in my mind, it's not surprising because um, you were in 2021, you were in the position of a lot of young people, right? You had just finished, or you were about to finish your university degree. You were probably just getting started in your career. You were just building your what we call ties, on your own. And I saw that a lot, especially if people were, maybe had traveled once before to the United States as a younger student, or as a minor. Maybe they traveled with their parents, or they did like a short trip like this, and then they would come back. They just were still developing their ties, and a lot of times I just couldn't approve their visas because they just did not have strong enough ties based on their own qualifications as an adult to meet the to
Mhm.
meet the requirements of the visa. And I would tell these kids, excuse me, kids, I should say kids, young adults, that listen, I can't approve your visa now, but hey, get a job, build your career, develop your ties, and then reapply. Reapply once you've got some work experience. Reapply when you've established yourself in a good professional situation. Then it's completely different because you're able to talk about all of the things you've been able to build, in your career and in your personal life. So now if you are applying, at 25 with a year and a half of professional experience, and you've also traveled to Japan, Hungary, and Singapore, which I believe are countries that are not automatic, not visa upon arrival or visa free for Indian
Mhm.
travelers. So that shows that you've actually been able to travel internationally. You've traveled correctly. You've used your visa appropriately. You've returned home. That establishes a good travel pattern, and that's something that the consular officer is going to look at. And add to that the fact that in that you did this J1 program while you were younger. I think that bodes well for you. I mean, I think you can make a strong. I think you would make a strong applicant, especially if you can demonstrate your solid professional skills. You can
Mhm.
demonstrate good international travel, and you throw that in with your prior J1 where you used it appropriately. I think that bodes well for you. So good luck to you, my friend. Good luck to you.
Good luck, Rohan. Thank you for your question, and I hope that you got your answer from Eric. Eric, thank you so much for taking that up. Also, I would really like to say that, folks, you can see, on top of our frames that it is written promo code IT people for 15% off. So definitely, if you need to consult Udetivisa, book a consultation with them, and don't forget to use this promo code for a 15% off. And yes, thank you, Eric, for taking that up.
Okay.
Let's move on to another question from the audience without, I think we should just go on with the audience
Of
questions
course. Yeah.
now,
Let's
Eric.
just knock them out.
Okay. All right. This is from Jatin. If you get denied, do you need to bring that denial up in front in the interview or wait to be asked? Or how to show your highlight before the CEO asks?
Mhm.
They know to cut you off before finishing sentences.
Sure. I think the question is basically, um, if you have been denied for a U.S. visa before, should you bring that up in the denial? Excuse me. Should you bring that up in the interview? I would say no because the consular officer is probably going to bring that up. When I would interview someone, I would usually first ask them why they were traveling to the United States, and then while I'm doing that, I'm looking at their records, their visa application record that we have on our system, and I'm kind of getting a better idea of their record with us. And if I see someone
Mhm.
that has been issued a visa, or has been refused a visa, I will probably look at those notes and try to understand what happened in that previous interview, and then go from there.
Okay.
So you don't when you're starting your discussion with the consular officer, and you have a prior refusal, you don't have to bring it up. They will bring it up, if they want to address it. They probably will. Um, should you highlight that before the consular officer asks? No, let the consular officer guide the conversation so that they can quickly drill down and get the information that they need. But be
Right.
prepared to talk about that. So if something happened, if, for example, you don't feel like you expressed yourself well, or you didn't include a particular piece of information,
Mhm.
you can always say that during your answer. Yes, consular officers are known to be very curt with people sometimes, and cut people off before finishing sentences and things like that. Yes, consular officers do that. The reason for
Mhm.
that is that consular officers are trained to be able to quickly make decisions, and in order to make a decision, they need to quickly ask and get answers for the questions that they ask. A visa interview can last as long as 3 to 5 minutes, but rarely longer than that. So that doesn't
Mhm.
give applicants a lot of time to be able to give long and lengthy answers. And to be honest, a lot of times I found that applicants were really not able to speak directly to the questions that were being asked, and would kind of talk around, or were not very
Mhm.
concise in how they answered. So I would be forced to cut them off, because I needed to move on to the next question, and the information that they had already provided me really was
Mhm.
it was either sufficient to tell me that I was not satisfied with their answer, or it was sufficient enough to tell me that I didn't need to ask any more questions because I got the information that I needed. So to avoid doing that, I suggest, and I do this for during my visa consultations, be able to concisely answer the consular officer's question directly. Don't leave out information, but don't make it too lengthy, because the consular
Mhm.
officer has got a schedule. They've got to really
Right.
move, and they're under pressure to move through as many visa interviews as they have to in order to make their to make their requirement. So
Mhm.
um, be able to concisely answer the question, and let them guide the conversation. I hope that helped. And I know it can be a very frustrating experience because people say, I didn't get a chance to, or I was getting to that, or whatever. But the consular officer they're on the clock. They
Mhm.
have a really short timer in their head before they need to make a decision. So
True.
that's why.
Thank you. Thank you for taking that up for Jatin, and all the best, Jatin. Just stick to the
Yes.
point, I guess. And
Yeah. Good
yeah,
luck, mate.
yes.
I hope
Thank
that
you.
helps.
Let's move on to the next question from the audience now. This one is from Sadi. Is it true that visa refusal can have a large impact on the future application, especially after the refusal, the officer will use prior decision to guide their question and direction of the interview?
Yes, that is correct. It can have an impact on your future applications. That's why it's really good to be able to have a strong and convincing visa application during your first time, and be able
Mhm.
to concisely and accurately talk about your purpose of travel and things like that. A lot of times, I saw people that were not prepared, and it really hurt them. Another problem that often arises is just miscommunication. The consular officer will ask one question, but the applicant, because maybe English is not their first language. Maybe just the situation is so stressful that your brain is not able to process the information that is incoming by that the consular officer asks, or you don't hear it, or you mishear the question. Okay, so
Mhm.
during the interview, you really need to stay focused on what the consular officer is talking about, and then to really be able to answer concisely what they're asking about, to avoid these simple errors that can that can really harm your application. Now, when it comes to an application that comes after a visa refusal, the consular officer is going to look at that prior refusal and to kind of get an idea of what was going on at that interview. The consular officer is going to review the purpose of travel, what the applicant said during the interview, any anything that the prior interviewing officer noted or his impressions were at the interview, and the reasons that he came to his decision. We jot all of that down because our visa adjudications are reviewed by our supervisors, and we need to be able to justify our decisions. We need to have some basis in law and some reasoning for why we made a decision, either yes or no. So prior interviews can be very important. But here's the thing: when you have been refused a visa and you are going back to apply again, you will be seen by a different consular officer. When I was working, if I had seen someone that had come in and applied to me, and I got their passport, and I looked on my system and I saw that I did the previous interview, I would take their passport and I would hand it to the guy at the window next to me, because we do want to make sure every person gets a fresh glance. And when I was interviewing someone who had been previously refused, after nailing down specifics like purpose of travel and things like that, I would always give them the opportunity to say, by saying, what new information do you have that you want to present to me today that you didn't tell the consular officer last time? Because I can only issue a visa if someone has been refused if I have new information. So maybe this could mean a promotion, more international travel, a different purpose of travel, or the applicant simply saying, hey, last time I didn't express myself well. I think I just messed up the interview. Let me talk about my job. Let me talk about my work. Let me talk about my family. Something like that. With a new information, then a consular officer is able to make a decision and make a better decision for that second interview. So a previous refusal can impact future applications. But the consular officer, if you have been refused before, the consular officer should be able to take that into consideration, but give you the opportunity to present new information. I hope that helps out.
Thank you for taking that up, Eric, for Sadi, and all the best, Sadi. Yeah. Well, there is a follow-up question from Rohan. I think we should take
Let's go
them up.
back.
So Rohan is asking, Rohan Datta, we just answered his question sometime back. Yes, that is correct. I am at last semester back there. I want to go to US for B2 visa now. I was so sad because I have been previously to the US. I thought everyone will get US visa after they went there.
Right. And I get that a lot of people think that, but it's not automatic. That if you've been to the U.S. once, or if you've been issued a visa once, any type of visa once, that you're going to automatically get another visa. That's not the case. U.S. law requires that the consular officer evaluate the applicant at the time of application, and that is so the time is frozen at their, and we look at what their current qualifications are. In some embassies, there are things called drop boxes where people who have been issued visas before can do an expedited renewal because they've traveled before. And consular officers review those applications, and we invite people in for interviews all the time because we suspected that they were misusing their visa, or something had changed in their situation from when they had previously been issued a visa, and we wanted to re-interview them. We do that quite frequently. If someone has changed jobs, if someone was married and is now divorced, a change in their family ties. If we see that someone has taken frequent long trips to the United States, we want to know why. Someone that's been able to frequently travel the United States and spend a long time. Well, then what are their ties to their home country? So we want to have that. The discussion with them. So even though you may have been issued a visa in the past, not necessarily mean that you're going to be issued a visa in the future, but you're absolutely right. Is that that was then, and the consular officer is going to look at you now, and now for you is different than it was from your first B1 B2 visa refusal in, I believe, 2001. or 2020, and it's and so now you're going to have the opportunity to establish your ties and show you are growing professionally, you have family ties and things like that. So um, uh, I get why a lot of people think that once you have the visa, you're automatically guaranteed a visa, but that's not the case. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you provided that follow up, and that was a really good point to add, Rohan. So thank you for commenting that.
Yeah, Rohan, thank you so much. And I'll also take this moment, to let you know that we keep updating. So check out our videos. And just recently, we posted a video regarding the different drop boxes in the Indian US consulates, which which take lesser time now. So there is
Hmm.
Chennai, Kolkata, Mumbai. They have reduced their, for how to say renewal purposes. So it takes
Hmm.
a little less time now. So Rohan, you
Hmm.
might as well check that out.
Yeah. Well, drop boxes just quickly because I know that we've got a lot of questions, and I want to get to the viewer questions. Drop boxes are generally for people who have been issued a visa previously. They are renewing the same type of visa, and the visa has only either has not expired or has only recently expired. So it's for people
Mhm.
that are renewing. It's not for first time applicants. All first time applicants, you get the pleasure of a conversation with a consular officer. Dropbox renewals, a consular officer will review based on just your documentation and then decide if he wants to do an interview or not. So little nuance there. But let's go back to the next audience question because I think that's what our audience wants us to get to.
For sure. Yes, let us do that. Let's take this next one. Thank you, Rohan. Next one is from Choi. So Choi is asking, Sir, what the 10 countries that you have served, and have you denied or caught a lie on J-1 application? Can you tell us a story?
Okay, so 10 countries. Let me go. So Philippines, Moscow, Azerbaijan, Venezuela, Afghanistan, and then I did temporary assignments to Samoa, Tajikistan, Georgia.
You got 8 there.
That's only eight. Where? Oh, right.
Russia?
Belarus and Ukraine. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
So
Wow. Thank you, Choi, for
have
asking.
I
And
caught?
the
Yes.
next part of the question, yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, consular officers are kind of like policemen, and that everyone that's caught doing something they shouldn't always has a good reason why, or has some excuse,
Mhm.
or is trying to get out of it. So that's a that's just part of being a consular officer. Um, just like policemen, we try not to take it personally. We realize that the person is not lying to me personally. They're lying to the guy at the visa window, and they're trying to
Yes.
get their visa. And we've there's no type of visa that does not have some fraud attached to it, and that's why consular
Mhm.
officers are vigilant, and that's why that
Yes.
we deny visas is because we don't think that a person maybe completely honest with us when during the interview. Um, for a J-1 program, lots of times in Russia we caught applicants who claimed to be students, but they were not university students. We would go back and we would spot
Mhm.
check university records, or we would look
Mhm.
for university transcripts that looked funny. Let me see. We caught lots of times people that were that were obviously using the J-1 program in order to immigrate to the United States. And
Mhm.
we found out on social media that they sold their car, they sold their apartment because they were going to immigrate to the United States. And so
Okay.
we got that information. We caught people who tried to hide criminal records and things like that, or the fact that they had maybe been to the United States on a J-1 program and they had been arrested. For some
Mhm.
reason, not to point out fingers, but Russians seem to be very bad about shoplifting and getting caught. So lots of J-1 applicants had been arrested in the United States, and we would find out about their criminal records and things like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's no visa category that's not without fraud, and that's why consular officers are very vigilant. So
Very original. Right. Thank you for taking that up for Choi. And
my
let's
pleasure.
move on to the next question quickly. And this is from Sight. Sight is asking, is speaking English will help on US visa interview, whether J-1, B-1, or B-2?
You know what? It's always a courtesy to the consular officer when the applicant speaks in English. I've spent most of my career serving in posts where that was not the case, and most consular officers are going to spend up to a year, sometimes even 2 years, learning a local language before they go overseas. Um, to work at a consular section and interview. It's always beneficial for the consular officer because it helps them move faster through the interview. And truthfully, there are some visas where you're just going where an applicant is not going to be credible if they don't speak English. If you're a medical
Mhm.
professional and you're going to the United States for an observership on a J-1 program, you should be able to speak English at a basic professional level. If you can't, that's strange. For the summer work and travel visa, the requirement was that the applicants have basic English. That was because they would be living on their own. They would be interacting with Americans, so they should be able to converse basically
Mhm.
at a basic level with the consular officer. So that way, and so we did all of those types of interviews in English, and part of the interview was an English test. And there were some kids who we wanted to approve, but their English test was not at a sufficient level, and so we couldn't approve their visas. Um, but if you are living in, or if you are from a country where English is not your native language, and you are applying for a B1, B2 visa or whatever, the consular officer should be able to speak French,
Mhm.
or Russian or Spanish or whatever, enough for them to be able to do the consular interview. It doesn't.
Right.
It's a courtesy, and we appreciate that, but it's not a requirement.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for taking that up for Sight. And moving on, let's take up this next question. This is from Joffrey. Based on my observation, if all VO get trained in the same umbrella,
Mm-hmm.
why a lot of people get approved in their second interview? It
Mm-hmm.
happened to me as well. The first VO was so dismissive, and the second one is all ear.
All right. By all ear, I'm gonna assume that means that someone who was listening and who was kind and who was kind of interested in hearing them. Um, I'll tell you, man, people are all different. We are all unique individuals, and visa officers have different personalities. Visa officers have
Hmm.
have different interview styles. Visa officers have different levels of experience. Visa
Hmm.
officers have different motivations for wanting to be at work that day. And I can go into that in a lot more detail, but I don't think that's important. I think what's important to say is that oftentimes applicants do better on their second interview because they've gone through the process of the interview before. Going to the embassy can be a very confusing, chaotic experience, and a lot of people get nervous. A lot of people aren't sure what they want to say. A lot of people don't know what the consular officer is going to ask. And just like taking a test or a college entrance exam, you take it the second time, you generally do better. So I think that's it. And again, people are all different, and it's just how we are. So
Well,
I will shout out to Mangu. Thank you who dropped in the chat that he reminds me of the actor who played Doc Brown in Back to the Future. So thank you for saying that. One of my favorite fictional characters. So yeah, thanks for that shout out, man. I appreciate that.
yes, you are actually like a visa scientist. There you go. Thank you, Mangu. And yeah, I think we'll take our last question for the day, and let's see who the lucky viewer is. The last question for today. All right. So Abdul is
Okay.
asking, my F1 visa interview is in August. I was
Okay.
previously refused in December 2023 because I was very nervous and over prepared, which affected my communication with the
Yep.
officer.
Yep.
If the
Yeah.
officer, I think there's a continuation.
Yep.
Yes. If the officer asks what changed since my previous interview, can I say I was nervous and unable to explain my finances and internship program properly in my first interview?
Yes, of course. And if we could go back to the previous slide where he talked about nervous and over prepared, and those are two really bad combinations. Um, what people don't understand, and this is something that I tell all of my clients that I do the consulting with, because I'll ask them some of the basic questions that the consular officer is going to ask, and they start
Mhm,
telling me, and usually within 2 sentences, I can tell if they have prepared their answer or not. Because to usually when you prepare an answer, you write it out.
mhm,
Okay, that's you write a script. And what people don't understand is that to a native English speaker, the
mhm,
scripts that people write out sounds artificial. It sounds off. It doesn't sound like a natural conversation. Okay, so we pick up on that immediately. And being over prepared and over scripted shows us that
mhm,
hmm, it makes the consular officer think, is someone coaching this applicant? As in telling him insincere or incorrect information to say during the visa interview. So once we hear that, we are
mhm,
automatically suspicious. Combine that with being nervous, and we've all been nervous. We've all had to speak in front of a group or something like that. And what happens when we're nervous? Blah 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 blah. Right? You're not able to concisely and succinctly answer and get to the consular officer's question. So the two of those things together, that can be death for a first time visa applicant.
a deadly
One piece of it,
combination.
one piece of advice I give to all of my clients when I see that they're getting nervous in speaking, I tell them to take 3 deep breaths right before they go to the officer. Breathe in through the nose. Doing that 3 times right before you go into the interview is going to lower your blood pressure. It's going to lower your heart rate. It's going to clear your mind. And so that way, at least you start the interview at a good level. Now, maybe you get nervous,
Mhm,
and maybe that starts to come out later on in the interview. But
mhm,
hopefully, that's enough for you to answer 2 or 3 good questions concisely, accurately, and in a nice controlled way. And then, then the interview is almost over. So everybody out there, for your first interview, take those breaths. Trust me, it's going to help. Okay, so now let's go to the next part of the question, which is, can we slide to
which
the next part of the
is
question?
if the officer asks what changed
Yes,
since my previous
yes,
interview, can I
yes.
say?
Another thing that I always that I like to tell my the clients that I interview that I consult with is that, hey, if the consular officer asks, or if you get a chance in the conversation, you can always say, I know I was refused. I don't think I presented myself well. I got nervous
Mhm,
and I couldn't really explain why I want to study at this particular school, or I got so confused I didn't really explain why this internship is important to me,
mhm,
something like that. It never hurts to sort of take ownership about a bad application, and to just
mhm,
kind of put that out there. It's like, I think I messed up in this area. Let me talk about this. Now, if it
yes.
is the area that you messed up in, or that the consular officer had concerns in, he's going to let you talk. Okay, you've hit the nail
Mhm,
on the head, as we say in English. Okay, and that's exactly what his concern is. If it's not, he'll let you speak and he'll say, okay, but what I really want to know is, tell me about that time that you did blah, 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 blah. Or let's
mhm,
go back and let's talk about this university a little bit more, blah, 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 blah. Or tell me more about why you want to study at this particular university, blah, 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 blah. And then he'll
mhm,
kind of guide the conversation back to his main concern. But it never hurts to start by saying, man, I messed up. I blew that interview. I was nervous.
mhm,
I don't see any downside to that, because if you're right, you're right, and if you're wrong in presenting it out there, the consular officer is just going to move the conversation to what he wants to address anyway.
yeah.
Good luck to you, my friend. Again, a lot of people aren't prepared for the experience of the first interview, and doing it again, getting another at bat, is it makes all the difference. So I think you can do it. Good luck to you.
Absolutely. Good luck, Abdul. Thank you so much, Eric. And folks, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's show. Thank you so much for participating, all of you out there. And I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to Eric G. Morin from Udetivisa, a visa consultant, for joining us today and sharing your experience, your expertise, and making this show a very informative session today. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you all very much for having me, and I appreciate all of the great questions from our audience. Now I'm going to go take a ride in my DeLorean back to 1985, but I hope to see you all again. Thanks for having me. I appreciate all the support, and good luck to everyone that's going out there for their visa interviews and going through this. So good luck to you all.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Eric. And folks, before Eric leaves, I would like to say you can always contact him directly, have a one-on-one consultation and consult more further about your status. His number is 630-303-6165. You can even email him hello@udetivisa.com and definitely go visit this website, udetivisa.com. And if you book a consultation with Udetivisa with an expert there, use this promo code called IT People for a 15% off. All right. Thank you, Eric. Have a great day ahead. Have a great Friday and a happy weekend.
Thank you. Happy weekend to you, Nipasa. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. Thank you, folks, for joining in today. I had a great time today with Eric G. Morin, visa consultant at Udeti Visa, and also ex retired foreign service officer. So thank you so much, all you folks. And if you're watching this video after the stream has ended, please feel free to keep commenting your questions if you have any, because we have our experts who are going to be more than happy to answer to you. All right. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do, because we keep having updates and all these amazing discussions and webinars with these awesome guests we have, just like Eric G. Morin we had today. So also, yes, we are going to have immigration and jobs talk show in Telugu language, which is a very superb news for all you Telugu viewers. So look out for that as well. Stay tuned with our channel, Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. We are there on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you're looking for a project placement, uh, EAD or green cards, definitely check us out. We are www.highrightypeople.com. That's our website where you will get more information about us. And if you want to get in touch with me directly, maybe you have questions about immigration or job related, just call me on this number, or you can even WhatsApp me on this number. My number is 408-335-6444, and my email address is nipa@highrightypeople.com. Thank you, folks, for tuning in today. You all out there have a wonderful Friday ahead and a very happy weekend. This is Nipasa Pradhan signing off from Immigration and Jobs Talk Show.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry, exceptional employee benefits, highly rated by our employees, global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us in the number 408-335-6444 or mail us at nipa@highrightypeople.com or visit our website www.highrightypeople.com.